Yeah, hi, good morning and good evening, everyone. And yeah, so yesterday we started setting up the complete CI/CD, right? So, and then we started discussing Jenkins shared pipeline. So, Jenkins shared library, sorry, follows try principle. Don't repeat yourself, and then you can implement all best standards in single place and force everyone to follow. If a change needs to be done, you can do in a single place that can reflect everywhere. That is one reason. And then we no need to pollute developer code with DevOps script. Okay, so these are the reasons we can use Jenkins shared library concept. Okay, so yesterday we started that RoboShop shared library. So this is the one, and this is based on Groovy. Okay, so we know Jenkins syntax actually. Groovy plus Jenkins pipeline syntax you can follow. So generally, Groovy is a lightweight Java kind of syntax, but not that much complex. This is very simple. So now we are going to write this syntax, but you need to understand the concept because this is going to be integration, multiple integrations. Okay. So yesterday we discussed that. So let us just discuss the concept and then we can do it. So somewhere you will write Jenkins shared libraries. Okay. Shared library. And in your Jenkins pipelines, you can refer this, or you can write, say, Jenkins file. You can just refer this library. Okay, so you need to pass the parameters to the library. That's the simple rule anyway. If you are referring some central location, obviously you need to pass the parameters. So you'll write shared library. The steps are first thing, write shared library, and second, configure in Jenkins system, and third, refer in Jenkins file. Okay. So yesterday we have started this, and remember one point, everything in shared library is a function. Okay. We will see that. So I'm writing here one more thing, that is pipeline decision dot groovy. Okay, so dot groovy is the mandatory thing here. Just need to give dollar hash and then exclamatory groovy. Okay, so this is generally simple thing, and then everything is a function here. We will come to that. So let me push this. Photoshop shade like it add library. So this is the one. Just configure this in our Jenkins. Go to manage Jenkins. There is system configuration here, and there will be global pipeline libraries. Add a name, RoboShop shared library, whatever. And then default version is master. You have the location. That's it. Okay. Which branch you are referring? You can name it something, and where is it? The GitHub location, and then apply save. Okay. And you need to refer this in your Jenkins file. So where is our Jenkins file? This one. So you can see this, right? So yeah, yesterday it is the name is changed now. RoboShop shared library. So again, Groovy, and you are referring library at the rate library. What is the name? And this is the syntax underscore. Okay, you can't do anything in that. That is a simple syntax. Now I need to pass the parameters. Okay. How can I pass the parameters? You know the variable generally, right? Variables, string, list, map, boolean, number. We know these are the data types of our variables generally. So in Groovy, how can you define the variable is nothing but def. Def means definition or define, whatever. And then map, you know, here map is like a list of key valuables, right? So map is nothing but key value pair. List is generally list of values. Okay. So you are calling the library. So here, this library, I want to understand two things. Mm, That is, write the table. For example, so how our application can behave is, let us see. One is programming language. Okay. And the other one is deployment platform. So we have programming language like Node.js, and the deployment platform is VM. Okay. Same Node.js application, the deployment platform can be EKS, Kubernetes. Okay. And one more. And you can have Java. Deployment platform can be VM. But if the deployment platform is changing, our application behavior also will change. Deployment platform can be EKS. So like this. So we will have the pipelines based on the programming language and then based on the platform, right? So I need to tell these libraries, I need to tell library about language and deployment platform so that it can decide which pipeline to call. Okay. So right now we are working on Node.js and then VM. So maybe from next week, we will work on Node.js and EKS. So at that time, the pipeline behavior will change. Okay, extra stages may be added like Docker images, all those things. But right now, Node.js and VM. So I need to tell what is my programming language and what is the deployment platform. And another thing is I need to tell the component also. component like cart, catalog, payment, etc. Okay. So why we need all these things, you will understand, because here what I'm doing uh, in Jenkins, here I'm having catalog, right? This is the component. So I want to send this as a parameter. So finally, I want to tell what is the language and deployment platform, and I need to tell what is the component right now I'm working on, so that pipeline can take the decision which one to call in the libraries. Okay. So now here what I do, I will create a map. Okay. So generally let us call it as config map. So def means defining variable, name is config map equal to, and it's going to be a map. Okay. That's why I just named it as config map. So what is your application? My application is Node.js VM based application. Okay, you can name it anything, but the same name should be replicated there. Okay. This is key and this is value. And then what is my component? Component is catalog. So when you define this one, okay, it means the libraries will be downloaded and accessible at runtime as like we developed. Okay, at runtime. This is fine. Okay. So all the libraries, whatever you have written through this RoboShop shared library will be downloaded and available in the workspace for you to call. Okay. So I wrote something like, what is it? Pipeline decision. Pipeline decision. I wrote this right. Here I'll write a function. So define a function. So I can write anything so that can be called. Okay. Decide pipeline. Okay. This is a function. It has to receive that config map. I'm just writing here config map, and then let me write something. Echo. I need to take decision based on the map you sent. Okay, just writing something here. So this is a function. So this function is accepting the input parameters. So in Groovy, defining variable and then defining function, both are same, def. Okay. So now here I'm defining the variable def. It means define. What is the name of your variable? Config map. You can name it anything you want. And then I'm saying the application type is Node.js and the VM based application. And then I'm saying component is catalog. Okay. So this one, now I need to call pipeline. What is the name of this? Pipeline decision. Pipeline decision dot. What is the function inside this? Decide pipeline. Decide pipeline of. I need to send this as a parameter. Okay, so now just understand what I'm doing. So I'm creating some parameters as a map, and then I'm passing those parameters to the pipeline. If it is dot groovy, you don't need to give anything. Just call it as pipeline decision dot. What is the function here? So this dot groovy file name and function inside it. Okay, that's what I'm doing here. So let us run and then understand whether this will work or not. So I did some changes. I need to push here. And then I need to push our catalog also. So now let me take our catalog. Okay, this is feature two. Feature two. Let me take this. And here inside this, creating new item. This is catalog, multi-branch pipeline, and then Git. This is Git repository, and that is through Jenkins file. That's it. Let me cancel other branches. So now you can see what is happening. It is running. So understand the flow. The Jenkins pipeline is calling first pipeline decision. Okay, so you can name it anything. I'm just simply naming it as something reasonable. Okay, pipeline decision. So here you need to understand what should be called. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to write inside pipeline decision. Here I will write application equal to, so this one, config map dot get off. What is the application we set here? That is Node.js VM. Okay, and then here let a simple syntax, that is switch case. Switch application case. If it is Node.js VM, call Node.js VM. And then send this config map. Node.js VM CI. Okay. And then break the case. So switch case is just like a if and then if else condition. If it is Java VM, call Java VM CI of config map. Okay, I'm just controlling from here. and then break. So this is a switch case, just like if and else. Just I want to tell you another condition type other than if else. Switch, and then here the value. What is the value we will get here generally? So here we are getting Node.js VM, right? So then if it is equal to Node.js VM, then this Node.js VM CI.groovy will be called. Or if it is Java VM, then Java VM CI will be called. I'm going to create Java VM CI dot groovy. Okay, that's it. If nothing is matched, then we have something called default error unrecognized application, and then break. So you need to break it everywhere. Okay, default. So that's it. This is just like if else. Okay, don't worry too much about that. Mm, yeah, so I'm removing this here, and then I'm simply calling application is Node.js and VM test. Okay, I'm just testing whether this will work or not. Okay. Photoshop shared library push and run this. Some syntax wrong here. This is the syntax. Okay. Now you can see this is caught. So this is taking a decision based on this. It is Node.js VM. Call Node.js VM CI. Okay. So as I said here in the shared library, everything is a function. So this is one function. Now I need to keep this also in a function. Okay, so this is a pipeline. So what I'm doing here is that everything in a library is function. Okay, so you can call a function particularly like file name dot function name. Okay, there is a special case if you have a function called function with the name call, then no need to specially mention function name. Okay. The general way is file name dot function name. So that's what I'm calling here. If you just see the Jenkins file here, so this is the file name dot function name. But this pipeline, so this pipeline is going to be inside the function. Obviously, as I said, everything is a function. Now, what I can do here is if I give definition call and then like this map config map, and then here I'm going to keep this entire pipeline in a function that is nothing but call function, right? This is our pipeline, you know that. I'm going to keep this inside a function called call. Why I'm keeping this call? Because here you can directly give Node.js VM of Node.js VM CI of config map. You can give dot call, okay? Or else, as I said, by default, if you have a function with the name call, then automatically that will be called. So here, it's a def call map of config map echo. So this will run if application is Java and VM. Okay. So now here, what I will write. Now this one will be called automatically. Okay, this is the map. Where is this pipeline decision? This pipeline decision, I'm just giving the file name so that a call function will be called automatically. And I'm passing the config map. And you can see here, this is the config map. Now inside this, I have the component, right? That's what I said, component and then application type. So now I no need of this parameters. Okay, so here what I can do, I can write a simple syntax to get the config map. Okay, so that's what I can do here. Again, the same syntax, def and then def and then component that equal to config map dot get of component. Okay, this is map. I'm getting the value by passing the key. Map name dot get of key name. Right, this is the general syntax till now we have followed. I will just print component is dollar component. Okay, so now this dollar component you will give wherever you require. Instead of params dot component, this is going to be component. Okay, so now this is called first from Jenkins pipeline to the pipeline decision. So this will decide which language and which platform just by everything is set up by us. Program is not taking any intelligence. So it is just setting up by us. If you set up here and then if you write here whatever you want, then obviously that will be called. Right? It's not JSVM. Yeah. So that's it. Now let us push. And then call our pipeline. You can see this is running. I'm printing somewhere component, right? That's it. Yeah, component is catalog. Yeah, deploy is obviously failure because I don't have any catalog deploy. So now what is the advantage you are getting here? Yes, do you think this code is going to be changed anytime? Obviously no. This is not JSVM and this is catalog, right? So if tomorrow you are developing, for example, you are going to add cart and then user, what is the Jenkins file you are going to keep? Same thing or something different? The same thing, but just you will change the component. And this one will straightforward work. This one will work straightforward, right? So there is nothing that can block. Everything is a parameterized. You take it user, you take it cart. So it means based on the application, this pipeline, this Node.js VM pipeline, this will work for infinity number of components in your RoboShop. You start any Node.js VM project, then you can directly implement this. So as a DevOps engineer of RoboShop, you created centralized pipelines called Jenkins Shared Library, and you are implementing the best standards, and then using dry principle so that your pipeline code will not be duplicated. So whenever any new project come up with Node.js VM, then you will directly configure this. So you will send a developer this file. Okay, you will send a developer. Just keep this in your Jenkins file and just name the component whatever you want. What is your component name? It has to keep it. That's it. That pipeline will be. It means it is one-time effort. You are writing the pipelines, keeping it in a centralized place, and then you name any number of projects inside RoboShop. Generally, if it is a real Amazon or Flipkart, there may be hundreds of Node.js components inside it, right? So all the hundreds and thousands of components will follow the same way. So that is, we are standardizing it. So yeah, so you can control here. So what I want to control here is, yeah, we will discuss that. How can you control dev and production? So now till that, is it clear? Any doubts here? We can take few minutes and discuss questions on this. Yes, Santosh Avla.
Hi Shiva, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, Shiva, how you know this is a shared libraries, right? In shared libraries, you have to provide the different platforms, right? Like you mentioned like VMs, you mentioned like Docker, you mentioned like Kubernetes, right? So how to
Hmm.
so same project you have to implement it all things in at a time to take the decision for the deployment time.
Uh, so maybe next time we are going to discuss Node.js into Docker, right? So at that time, I'll create another one, Node.js docker.groovy. And you have to change your application here. You have to mention Node.js Docker.
Okay, but how to mapping that these things like dynamically like this is a you statically provide that these things, right? Whenever you have to
There
write.
is, we cannot do it dynamically. This obviously you have to decide. This is not artificial intelligence. So you need to just decide what is your programming language and what is your platform, what is your deployment platform. So one application can be deployed in many platforms. You can deploy it in VM, you can deploy it in Kubernetes, and we have some other platforms like PCF, Pivotal Cloud Foundry. There are many things, deployment platforms in the software industry. Okay, so we know VM and we know Kubernetes. Kubernetes is a platform as a service. The same way we have many other platforms. So you need to tell this is don't think too much automation here. Okay, just for the sake of dry principle and as well as central place and to implement standard rules, you are telling here. So maybe after a few days, if you implement Docker, then you have to change this Node.js Docker. Then it will come here and I will have Node.js docker.groovy. There I will add another step that is Docker image. Okay.
Okay, Shiva, can you go for the pipeline decision that will be? Yeah. So
Yeah.
here you have to calling, right? Yeah. See, it is not this one. Pipeline
Tell
decided
me.
pipeline dot pipeline.
Yeah.
So in the you have to write the switch cases, right? Like in
Yes.
application, pass the parameters, and you have to gather the uh, configuration things, right? So in a switch
Mm-mm.
cases, you have to by default you have to calling the other pipelines. So it is a
Mm.
getting to error, right? While calling time.
What is it?
So suppose you have to calling
This,
the default in the mismatching of the these conditions, they have to
if,
go to
yeah.
other pipelines also, right? How you to
Yeah.
control
For
those things?
example, now see you are giving wrong value. Correct?
Yeah.
Right? There is nothing here. Then I'm push. Sorry. Unrecognized application. See, you're maybe you're thinking, so why I'm keeping it static. So okay, maybe you are in too much automation mode.
Okay.
Okay, that is like artificial intelligence. You need to tell what your application, right? So what are we sending here while implementing the VPC? Why I'm hard coding this? Do you think this is hard code? Without this, how can it work,
Yeah. Yeah. Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So
Thank you,
yeah,
Shiva.
don't go into too much automation like intelligence mode. So this one, you need to tell what is your type of application.
Yeah. Thank you, Shiva.
See, everything is known by us. I'm doing something to reduce my efforts. Okay, not to go for artificial intelligence kind of things here. This is coming here. And then based on what you have given, this is taking your decision. That's it. Just controlling. Okay. Yeah. So this is Node.js VM. So this is how you will implement Jenkins shared libraries. So while explaining in the interviews, you have to say, we have this ACD process and then we implemented Jenkins shared libraries, and we will simply insert a few 10-15 lines of Jenkins file that is mostly static into the developer repositories. So the pipeline will be automatically configured, right? So if just imagine, the user and cart applications. When I have user, I don't, as a DevOps engineer, there is no effort for me. I will just ask the developer to keep this file and name your component. That's it. And he knows, he is very well aware what are the type of pipelines we have. So that's what DevOps engineers and developers are discussing daily. So they will ask, I'm going to start Java and then VM. So that is shipping component. Then obviously you have to make it ready here, right? Where is it? Obviously you have to make it ready. Java VM CI. So once you make it ready, then you will inform him. So he will keep Java VM. You will tell this value. There is minimum communication between developer and DevOps engineer, right? And then you will name your component. So then what we do in the Nexus, we will create that repo and then we will configure the pipeline. So obviously first 2 or 3 times we will be there to just check everything is working as expected or not. Okay.
Thank you.
These are the shared libraries. Same concept for anything. Okay. Just practice one thing. We cannot spend too much time on VM deployments because VM deployments is already legacy. We need to spend more time on the containers and then Kubernetes. But the procedure is almost same. Only only one extra stage will come up. That is Docker image. And then yeah. So now we completed dev almost, right? Now we need to think on production. Just imagine this is a new project. Okay? New project. Obviously, our developers wants production first. So as a DevOps and infra engineer, so what we did till now, we created first dev infra and then CI pipeline and then CD pipeline. Okay, we implemented shared library here, CD pipeline. So now developer, everything is good in development. He will ask us, he wants to go for production. Developer wants to go for production, right? So now again, as a DevOps and infra engineer, we need to create prod infra. Okay, we need to create prod infra. So this one, I'm just copying this. Okay. Just copying and then changing the name. Prod. Close this. Okay. I will open again. Okay. Open running it. Okay, I just made it as prod. So you can configure this one also, infrastructure also, into your Jenkins pipeline. Whatever we are doing the deployment process, Terraform init, Terraform plan, Terraform apply, you can do it. Okay. But this is mostly one-time effort. That's what I'm doing from here, directly from my workspace. So if you are doing it from the Jenkins, then obviously you need to have this inside GitHub. Okay. If you do it from Jenkins, you must have this source in GitHub. And you know that already, how to keep it inside GitHub. So now I'm going to create production, mostly very less efforts here in the environment. I'm going to keep it broad. And so I already have this per dev. I'm going to make it as 10.0 to 10.1. Okay. Dev CITR is 10.0.0.0/16. Production is 10.1. Okay, because if you need some pairing, maybe for short time, like sometimes we need to copy the production data into development for testing. So at that time, we will go for pairing. So if you are going for pairing, your CIDR should not be overlapped. That is the condition we already discussed, right? This is the provider. I'm going to keep it as VPC prod, and parameters. Everything is dynamically taken, and main, there is nothing hard coded as dev, and data. Yeah. So now I will go and run this Terraform init. Okay, make sure you have to give different key. Okay, so once you have the production infrastructure ready, then you can deploy it into the production. Okay, I'm going to do those changes here. Inside firewalls, I will keep prod. I will keep prod here. Parameters. Everything is based on the environment. Main, let me see any dev. No. Data. This is also dynamic. Everything is good here. And VPN data. Just see any dev word is there. No. And here, no. And this is fine. Provider, instead of dev, it should be prod. And variables also, it should be prod. Okay, I'm not changing anything, just changing from dev to prod. You know other way also, that is keeping the same code but changing the backend configuration and then terraform.tf vars. Okay, we will also use that as part of application, and mongodb.sh. So here we need to take some careful here. Need to be little careful here. I'll see that. MongoDB record name. Yeah, so this one, what I'm doing here, I'm pulling this and then calling the component and main.app. Let's go here once. Files. This one. Mm, if this is not into the picture. MongoDB, right? Not catalog. MongoDB. This is okay. This this is fine. When it comes to catalog, I need to tell you one more concept that we will discuss anyhow. MongoDB, everything is same. And app ALB, again, variable should be brought and it should be brought. Provider should be brought. Parameters, this is fine. And then this is also fine. Everything is dynamic here. Okay. Then, yeah, this is fine. So now what I do, everywhere provider is changed. Just observe the color. All right. For I in now same 01 VPC 01.1 firewalls 02 VPN 03 MongoDB 04 app ALB CD dollar I Terraform init reconfigure Terraform apply auto approve, come one step back, then done. Okay. So no spelling mistakes, I think. Oh yeah, so there is one more suggestion from the chat. Nani Nikhil, thank you. So in the VPN, it's already there. It's already out. And in MongoDB, yeah, it is also there. Mm, yeah, that's all. Now let me run this. We obviously at the time of project configuration from the scratch for the first time, we need to spend a lot of efforts to configure the environments. One time it is done, then mostly every time it is changes, simple changes. So let us take 5 minutes break. We'll come back at 8:07. By the time, let us see this infra will go. So our infrastructure is getting created, including the VPN. So here I need to tell you few more things. This may be a little, so I need to focus more to understand this. Okay, so till now I directly did this catalog deploy, but here we have multiple environments, and then this pipeline decision. So here it is calling catalog hyphen deploy. Now I need to pass one more parameter, that is environment. Okay, environment. I'm going to pass dev. Okay, so why I'm passing dev here? By default, when a non-master branch PI is done, we can go for dev deployment, because this is nothing serious, right? Dev deployment, you can always run it, but I'm passing another environment, that is dev. Okay, inside catalog deploy, you are getting environment here. Default value is generally dev, which environment to deploy. And then here, so you can see we need to make our Terraform as environment specific. Now you know that, right? Creating. So here I'm going to create dev folder, and another folder is production. So you know that dev backend.tf and dev.tf that dev.tf vars, you know that everything. Right? So what I'm going to do here is, where is it actually, where we practiced it? So inside this one Terraform folder, you can see here. So we have already practiced this backend.tf and then dev.tf that vars controlling the environment. So you have two options. One option is maintain separate repo, that we are already doing that using our infrastructure creation, infra dev and infra pod, and then control through tf vars and backend config. Okay. So since infrastructure is very huge, and then that is very crucial, we cannot take that risk of this approach in the infrastructure part. Okay, but application infrastructure is comparatively small. We can consider that one here, and that is more flexible also. Now I need to take this backend.tf backend.tf, and what is it? Or backend.tf is RoboShop key, RoboShop remote state and RoboShop locking. This is the key. catalog dev. And then terraform.tf_vars, or you can name it anything like dev.tf_vars also, based on the environment. And these are the variables, right? So I'm just going to keep this one, environment. I need to, by default, it is dev. And here, I'm going to do this. Project name equal to RoboShop. And then environment equal to dev. And then we have some variable that is common tags. Common tags equal to this one. And what else? We have one more thing that is domain name. This is always the same, join DevOps.online. So app version. Anyhow, we are going to replace this using command line variable. Backend and then dev.tf_vars. Now here, when it comes to the deployment, we have an extra parameter that is environment. So here, what should we do? You know that hyphen backend config equal to, I'm getting this dollar params dot environment. Okay, slash backend dot tf. Okay, so if it is dev environment, it will be Terraform init backend config equal to this dev folder slash backend.tf. Okay, so the same way inside the plan, I need to give hyphen var file equal to this one params.environment slash params.environment.tf_vars. So this dev.tf_vars will be considered. Okay. And then approval also the same thing. Right? And this one here, Ansible playbooks. Just understand this. We have the database. This is dev database. And then this is production database. And we have our catalog. Catalog dev. So this catalog dev will connect to dev, and this catalog prod will connect to prod, right? So when the catalog instance is getting configured through the Ansible playbook, so let's go to the Ansible playbook. What I did here. So this is hardcode. Can this work for production? Can someone please comment in the chat? Can this work for production? No, because I hard coded this. So that is what we have. One is application, our catalog application. So do you think our application code is different for different environment? Application code. The developer is writing different code for different environments. Can someone please type in the chat? No. So the code is always same. Whatever the code you are writing, that should work for both dev and production environment. The only thing is configuration, right? So you will have different configuration. This is catalog. You will have dev configuration and then production configuration. Okay, when you are deploying the catalog application to dev environment, you will refer dev configuration. When you are deploying catalog to production environment, you will refer production configuration. So this is what the crucial questions if they ask sometimes in interview. Okay, how will you manage the configuration for your application? Because the code is always the same. How will you manage development configuration? How will you manage production configuration? So that is what we have SSM parameter stored. So if you just check here, parameter stored, why I am keeping this as dev and then slash prod? Because you are maintaining different configuration for different environments. If you have another environment like QA and UAT, so generally you will keep slash RoboShop slash UAT slash RoboShop slash QA, right? So now I'm working on dev configuration here. I'm working on development. So I need to tell Ansible to fetch development related Mongo URL. Okay. How can Ansible fetch that? So that is through SSM parameter. Okay. So now what should be our MongoDB dev URL? Slash RoboShop slash dev slash MongoDB URL. Okay. So this should be like this for dev environment. And then for production, this should be like this, right? So this one is going to be changed. If it is dev, it is MongoDB -dev. If it is production, that is going to be MongoDB -production. Okay. So you remember we discussed something on templates, Ansible templates. So that I'm going to do that right now. So first thing, what I need to do here is I need to create some URL like this, some parameter like this. Do we have it available? No. So at the time of MongoDB infrastructure creation, I will write some parameters. Parameters dot df. So what this one will do? So this one will create that dash slash this one and MongoDB URL. Okay, MongoDB URL. And this is going to be, value is going to be MongoDB record name dot environment dot zone name. Okay. Focus here. $var dot MongoDB record name hyphen dollar var dot env hyphen dollar var dot zone name. Okay, so MongoDB hyphen dev that's it. This part with this. See, rows catalog files MongoDB hyphen dev dot join DevOps dot online, right? So I need to keep it dot. Okay, so for dev, it is MongoDB hyphen dev dot join DevOps dot online, and for prod, it is MongoDB hyphen prod dot join DevOps dot online. Right? So let me push this PowerShell infra dev and then Terraform apply auto approve. Just thinking everything is good. Let's see. CD03. So the same thing, I'm going to keep it in production infra also. Parameters dot df. Okay, no change. Okay, this completed. Mongo URL. Okay, MongoDB URL we have MongoDB hyphen dev dot join DevOps dot online. So now at the time of provisioning the catalog instance, our Ansible will create the instance, and this one, somehow this one should be dynamic. So that is what it is going to be, Ansible templates. Okay. Now here the concept of IAM comes into picture. IAM. That is identity access management. Okay. So for today, we don't have much time. I'm going to tell you briefly, and from Monday, we will discuss more. So generally, this is not an AWS concept. This is a universal concept, identity access management. So, everywhere it is authentication and authorization, right? So when we are going to our offices, anybody can access main door of the company, like maybe TCS or HCL. But can you access other project blocks, like other project areas, or only you can access your project area? So authentication is nothing but prove you are company employee. Authorization is nothing but prove you have access to particular project in a company. If you are just a company employee, you can access any common areas. Okay, but you cannot access private areas like RoboShop. We are working for RoboShop project. You cannot access Amazon project, right? Amazon project door you cannot access. That is what the authorization. So the objects here to prove your authentication and authorization is user. So generally you will have username and password, or username and token, or username and this one access card, right? That is the user. Role. What is your role? Employee or lead or manager or MD, managing director, or CTO or CEO. So based on the role in your company, your access will change, right? If you are a CEO of the company, you will have access to many places, almost everywhere in the company. If you are a normal employee, you may only have access only particular to your project. And then permissions. So we have to define, just you are a CEO, you cannot get the access directly. So that is what we will mention here through the permissions. That permissions will comes into picture. If it is employee, we need to define everything. This is not artificial intelligence, right? What are the permissions? So there will be a separate IAM team generally in not only AWS, any technology. And if you are a team lead, what are the permissions? We need to define this in a system. Yeah, this concept is same for everything, not only AWS. And if you are a CEO, we need to define what are the permissions you have. Okay. So you have role and you have permission. Now, for example, I join a company. Sivakumar joined a company. So what everybody will do, I mean, any IAM team will do. So they will create user Sivakumar in the system and assign a employee role, right? So now Sivakumar is an employee here. Maybe after 2 years, I got promoted as a team lead. Now what they have to do? Remove employee role and add lead role. So that's how my access is elevated, right? And this role have permissions already defined. So now I will get the lead role access directly. So this is the general concept of authentication and authorization. Okay. So the same way we follow in AWS also. You go to IAM here. We have created Terraform user, everything. So I have one Terraform user. So same roles and policy. Policy is nothing but the same name as permissions. Okay. If you see administrator access, what is it saying? Star means all resources, all actions, right? And then let us see in EC2 permissions. Now, what is it saying here? EC2, based on the resource, you can access everything. And elastic load balancing, you will have all resources. Now, if it comes to the AWS here, let me tell you, AWS account, everything here is resource, right? Like EC2 and then VPC and Route 53 and SSM parameter. So all these are resources. So you can control user Sivakumar which one he can access. He can access EC2, and inside this also you can control, can he access all resources or particular resources. Okay. So your AWS account may have EC2 instances, many projects like RoboShop, Flipkart, Amazon, all the EC2 instances are there. So, but Shivakumar is working only for RoboShop. So you can control only RoboShop instances he can access. Okay, so that is what you can do the control here. What resource type? This is EC2, and then this is resource. And another thing that is action. Do you give a permission to a fresher to delete access of the EC2 instance? Can you give the permission for fresher to delete the instance access? Please type in the chat. So this is action, like create, update, read, and delete. So can you give access of read access to the fresher? Yes, right? This is noun and this is verb. Noun is nothing but names, right? We know already everything. So Sivakumar is noun, and then work is nothing but walking and then running. Those are comes under actions or verbs. Okay, so the same concept everywhere in every system. While defining the permissions, okay, you can create which resource type. This is easy to type. Can he access particular resource or all resources? And then can he, what are the actions he can do? That's what here it is mentioned. Action, easy to all action. And then elastic load balancing on the resources. This is the action. And then here all resources, the action is CloudWatch. You can see IAM, the action is create service link role. You are giving access of IAM, but he can only do this one. Now, if you say this read only access, we will discuss more, don't worry. What I'm doing here, EC2 colon describe. What is describe? Is it read or any update or delete? Describe is nothing. It is coming under read or update delete. Describing is always read access. So that's what he only has read access. Okay, and you can see describe everywhere. List is also read. Getting is also read. Describe is also read. Okay, so that is how you can manage, you can control the access based on the resource and then based on the action. But here there is another concept that is roles. We have one EC2 instance. So this is EC2. And we have VPC, we have S3, we have S3, we have VPC, we have parameter store. So user is human. Sivakumar is human. And this resources. So EC2 wants to access S3. What are the items in S3? And then EC2 wants to access VPC. EC2 wants to access parameter store. So not only humans, here the resources also, one resource wants to access another resource, right? So if you give admin access to EC2, what is the danger we can see? So last time we gave admin access to the EC2 while while configuring RoboShop through the shell script. If I give admin access to the EC2, admin access role to the EC2, what will happen? If a hacker gets access to the EC2 instance, he can control your complete AWS environment. From this instance, okay, he can create any number of instances, any number of services. He can go to any region. He can do everything if you give admin access to the EC2. Okay, here understand this. Role is not only for humans, it is for resources also, so that you can control the access to your resources. So now our EC2 instance catalog, our EC2 instance of catalog wants to access parameter store to fetch this. Where is the configuration? Configuration is in parameter store. Now this is a catalog instance. So this catalog instance have to access configuration, dev configuration or production configuration, whatever it is. So this EC2 instance have to access parameter store. So now I need to create a role for this EC2 to access only parameter store, not other resources. Now let us try to create one role. You will understand better. Create a role, AWS service. Which one? EC2 service, my EC2. I'm creating a role for EC2. My EC2. You have policies here generally. I'm touching SSM. You can see I'm giving SSM full access or SSM read-only access. Okay, this is more safe. Now you can see you are giving all resources in SSM and you are giving describe access, get access, and list access. And then next. And then create role. I need to give a role. RoboShop EC2 role SSM. You can name it anything. Allow EC2 instances to call SSM parameter store. Yeah. And this is the policy. Now creating a role. Now you can see RoboShop EC2 role SSM. I created today. So what are the permissions? These are the permissions. SSM access, and you have the list, get, and describe. Okay. So now what I have to do, I have to allocate this permission to the catalog instance. And then here, Ansible lookup SSM parameter. Okay. So that is the Ansible solution. Ansible can read your SSM parameter. So check here, you can see you can give Ansible like this, look up, okay, amazon.aws.aws_ssm, and then what is your parameter name? Okay, so this is your parameter name. This is SSM parameter, and what is your parameter name and which region you are in. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to replace this as this one. Already we are in the provider, we already mentioned the region, we don't need to mention here. And what is it here? So this is RoboShop / environment / MongoDB URL. Okay, because only environment is going to be dynamic. Okay. MongoDB / here. Look up, and this one. Sorry, something wrong here while giving. Just undo. So now instead of this one, I want this. This is going to be /RoboShop / environment / MongoDB URL. Okay, that's it. So now what will happen? Ansible, while configuring this service, now this is going to be Ansible templates. We already discussed this template, and I'm going to keep it from here to here. So at runtime, Ansible will see, okay, I need to look up AWS SSM parameter store for this one. Then it will go and fetch it. Where is Ansible running? Is it running in EC2, right? So where is Ansible running? Ansible is running in EC2. Now, this Ansible wants to have access to SSM parameter store. So now what we have to do? So we have to attach role to EC2. If you don't attach role, then Ansible cannot fetch it. Okay. But anyhow, this is getting extended. I can stop till here. Okay. So what you do is just create practice of creation or practice the CI/CD Jenkins shared libraries, like whatever we discussed today. And then for Monday session, just go through IAM concept. We will repeat again. Okay. And we will see how can Ansible can fetch the configuration dynamically based on the environment you provide. So I'm going to make it another variable here that is nothing but environment. And then I will pass the environment from Jenkins. That's what I'm going to do. Like how I'm passing the app version, I'm going to pass environment. So then based on this variable, Ansible will fetch it. Okay. So yeah, let's stop here. Any questions? Any questions? Please raise your hand. We are not doing anything new again, but we are connecting all the dots. Any questions? At least one or two, because we are reaching the final stage of CI/CD, everything integration. So if the interview is in depth, definitely you will face this question. How can you keep configuration for multiple environments? You have to say we are maintaining the configuration in SSM parameters stored, and based on the environment, our EC2 instances will go and fetch the values at runtime. No questions? So we are just going to, if you are able to complete this in this weekend, you can just give the role to the answer EC2 instance, but that should be through the Terraform. Okay, so you have to create the role, and then you need to attach the role here. So that one, how we can do is, while creation of this one, PogoShop Infra, here create a role for EC2, and then here also create a role for EC2. I need to add this role inside our infrastructure. Okay. So if no questions, we can end the session today. Just forget about IAM. Just try to understand this. Practice till before IAM. Okay, that's shared libraries, all those things. If no questions, then we can end the session. Have a nice weekend. Practice well on this weekend, and then we will continue maybe next session within half an hour or 1 hour. We will complete this process and we will enter into the containerization. Okay. If no questions, I'm ending the session. Have a nice weekend. Bye bye.